I'll be showing 14 new features in Microsoft Teams. This includes updates that were just announced at the Ignite conference and a whole lot more. So let's get started. The first new feature is the long-time request of scheduling a chat message to send in the future. So I have a message that I want to send to my group chat, my TPS report besties, and in the bottom, I'm going to quickly add my message. Hey everyone, check out the new TPS report design that I've been working hard on. Now I want to make them think that I'm sending this really late at night. So I'm going to go to the lower right, and on the send arrow button, you're going to right click, and there's a new option to send at scheduled time. So we will choose the date. I'll have it look like I'm on Saturday at 11 p.m. and I'll set the time. There we go. And now I'll click send at scheduled time. This adds a little label right here that says when it's going to be sent out at. So Saturday, October 15th at 11 p.m. And now I just go down and hit send. And here's the message. It says it's going to send it out at Saturday, October 15th at 11 p.m. And there's also a little clock icon next to it so you know that it's scheduled. And if I want to go up and edit the message, I can still hit the three-dot menu and I can edit that message. Or if I don't want to send it at all, I can delete it. This will work for any type of chat that you have in Teams. The second new feature is Excel Live in Teams meetings. This allows everyone to collaborate in real time on Excel. It's super cool. So I'm in a meeting here, and I'm going to go up to the share tray in the upper right. And if you scroll down, you'll see a new Excel Live, and this is in public preview right now. Now, if I choose a spreadsheet that I have, inventory, it'll ask if I want to share this with all participants, and I will hit share. Now, this spreadsheet is shared with the meeting, but here's the trick. It's actually in a collaborative mode. In the bottom it says you're presenting, but I can see that Ella has this spreadsheet open on her computer and Alex is on this right here. And as they're moving around the cells in real time, I can see that Ella's moving and I can see that Alex is moving as well. So we're actually in co-authoring mode automatically, and I'm just clicking on the team screen. So when I click here, you can see that I'm selecting cells, I'm doing what I want. And then on the other screen, other people are doing things as well. And so this makes it really powerful to be able to do real-time collaboration. Now this also works even if you're on a phone. And I'm going to switch over to my mobile device and show what it looks like for Alex. He's got the spreadsheet open on his phone. Here I am as Alex, and I'm selecting some different cells on my phone. And at the same time, you can see that people are navigating around the spreadsheet on the other computers. So this works whether you're on mobile or whether you are on a device, and it's really powerful to have that real-time collab anywhere. The third new feature is the addition of video content type when you're sending a chat. So I have my TPS report besties chat here, and in the lower right, there's a new little video camera button. I can record a video clip. So let's say I click this. Hey, here's a video camera. I can choose my video right here if I want. I can choose the microphone I want, and I just hit the record button. Hey everyone, I'm really pumped about these new TPS reports. Let's get on it with our new cover sheets. All right, hit pause, and I can review that video.
Hey everyone, I'm really pumped about these.
Now, if I want to trim it, I can just click here. Very easy to trim and check out exactly what you want to do for your video. If you want to record it again, you can click this, but in this case, I'm just going to hit send. And there's the video right in the chat, so any of my TPS report besties can now just hit play on that video.
Hey everyone, I'm really pumped about these new TPS reports.
All right. The fourth new feature is the ability to see who is already in the meeting before you join. So I have a meeting here, and I'm going to click on it, and I can see that, oh, it looks like Alex Wilbur and Ella Taylor are already inside of the meeting. This is really handy to understand who might already be there. I've had people tell me also, for example, maybe I don't want to do small talk with Alex Wilbur, so I'm not going to join the meeting until it actually starts, and it just gives you a sense of who's already going to be in there. So if I just hit join, I can go and see. There's Alex and there's Ella. The fifth new feature is assigning seats in Together mode. I'm here in Teams and we're gonna do Together View assign seating. So I can put folks exactly where I want them as the organizer in Together mode. So if Adam needs to be in the front row where I can keep an eye on him, that's what we're gonna do. So in the upper left, I'm gonna drop this down and we'll choose Together mode. Here we are in the basic Together View mode. Now I'm gonna change this. So if I go down to the lower left and choose Change Scene, now I've got my options. And I'm going to scroll down and find one that I like here. Oh, Minecraft view. I kind of like this one. Now there's a new option, Assign Seats. So if I click this button, now here we are in the new Assign Seats dialog. You can see all the little chairs are ready and I can just drag people where I want them to go. So we're going to drag Adam right in the front row there. And I'm going to sit next to Adam so I can keep my eye on him. So I'm going to drag myself right there. And Cosma, she's always causing trouble. We're going to put her in the back. But we'll have Emma. She's going to keep an eye on Anne right there. And then we will have Anthony in this row. And we'll put Jess in the second row. So everyone's in their seat now. And now I will click Assign. Hey, here we are. We're all in our assigned seats. I see Adam right here on my left. Looks like Jess is waving down to me. Everyone is just where they need to be. So now you can assign seats in together mode. The sixth new feature is a quick shortcut to quickly find things in chat. So maybe you have a really long chat. I've got my TPS report besties. If I do CTRL-F, up at the top, it does /find in the TPS report besties chat. And I'm going to search for the word Bill for Bill Lumberg and hit enter. Over on the right-hand side, it quickly finds the places where I mentioned Bill Lumberg and where the update Bill right here. So a really nice way to quickly find things in any type of chat. The seventh new feature is improvements to picking whiteboards in Teams meetings. I'm in a Teams meeting here and I will hit the share tray and I will choose Microsoft Whiteboard. This pulls in all the existing whiteboards that I've already used. So if I want to reuse a whiteboard, one of these, it's very easy to do. In this case, I'll choose New Whiteboard. And I'm going to say I'm just presenting, only I can edit. The eighth new feature is support for online videos in Whiteboard. So if I go here on the Whiteboard set of options, I can choose videos, which is new. And I'm going to paste a link to my YouTube video here, but you have other options like SlideShare and Vimeo. Hey, here's a great new video on all the new updates in Windows 11 22H2. And I can drag this around the screen, I can size it and make it bigger, and now this is interactive and I can play. Hey, I know that guy. The ninth new feature is support for links on the whiteboard. So if I go to links here, if I click this, I can put a link to an existing file or web page. I'll paste a link to my YouTube channel and I'll insert that. Hey, look at that, it pulls up my channel page, but you can put any type of link here. I'll show one with a link just to a regular web page as well. We'll hit links again, and I'll paste a link to our EdTech community blog and hit insert. There it pulls up a little rendering of the EdTech community blog. I'll put that down, I'll zoom out a little bit. We'll drag this up here, and now I can make this like this. The 10th new feature is Bing image search built in. So if I click on images on the left here, now you can search across Bing images. I'll click this. Let's look for Bill Lumberg. Hey, there's Bill, and it's Creative Commons only, so this is free to use anywhere, including this YouTube video. So there's one for Bill. We'll hit insert, and let's drag this right here and make it a little bit bigger. Love it. The 11th new feature is the ability to filter unread activity notifications really easily. Now I have a bunch of different teams with lots of different activity notifications firing. I'll go to the upper left here and go to activity. There are many different notifications, some I've read, some I haven't. Now I go here, there's a new switch, unread only. If I turn that switch on, it'll just filter out the notifications that I haven't read. So now I can scroll down and look at all these different notifications, and when I'm done, I can flip that switch off, and that'll put me back to the mode where I can see unread and read notifications all at the same time. This also works on mobile devices, which makes it really handy. The 12th new feature is suggestions in Teams meetings polls. So I have a meeting I've sent out here and I'm going to edit it before the meeting starts. Go to the plus tab and you're going to search for polls. This is actually the Forms app, but it's been renamed as polls. I'll hit plus and choose save. You have all these great suggestions automatically. So if I don't want to have to create a new poll, maybe I want to have the icebreaker one. This looks good. We'll choose that. A bunch of options. What part of school life did you miss the most during summer vacation? You can choose whichever one you want, but I will choose save as a draft. Here's another one for word cloud. I'll add that too. So having all of these suggestions here, and if I scroll down, there's a whole bunch of great suggestions. These are more education focused because I'm signed in as an educator, but if you're in the corporate world, they'll be more corporate focused as well. The 13th new feature is a new question type in Teams polls called rankings. So I'll click new poll. There's a new question type, and that is ranking. So I will click this, and you can allow people to rank different questions. So what is your favorite color? And I'm going to save that as a draft. Now what we'll do is start the meeting, and I will launch that ranking question. I'm here in the meeting, and in the upper right there is polls because I've already added that. If I open this up, I can have all the different draft polls that are all ready to launch. And I'm going to launch the ranking poll. So I will click launch. And this asks, what is your favorite color? And all I need to do is click and drag. Purple's my favorite. Purple's number 1 and blue is number 2. And I'm gonna have you'll have green is last place. So each person can rank these different options. I will hit submit. And now it shows the current ranking, only with one response. And as more people rank and respond, this will shift and update in real time. The 14th new feature is the ability to send a form directly to a Teams channel. I've got a form here that I've created, the favorite color poll. And I'm gonna go to the upper right and choose collect responses. Automatically, there's this little choice that is new where I can send something directly to people in Outlook or in Teams. And it says, please submit your response by October 14th. And so that's the date that I would like people to submit things by. Now I can add a name or a channel here. I'm gonna start with a channel. I've got a set of people here, but I'm gonna scroll down. Here are some of the channels. I'm gonna choose peer-reviewed resources in the health resources team. So now what I'm ready to do is hit send on this. This will send this directly into the team. And I'm gonna switch over and show what that looks like really quick. I'm here in the peer-reviewed resources channel in my team, and here is that poll that I just sent. The form went right into the channel, and people can now click Start Now, so anyone who sees this message can click this, and then that form opens up and they can fill it out. If you want to keep up with all the latest Microsoft updates and tips and tricks, subscribe to my channel, and then just ring the bell so you get all the latest videos that I post.